What's up, everybody? It's the Hardy Construction. You can find us at hardyconstruction.tumblr.com, youtube.com/hardyconstruction, as well as facebook.com/the Hardy Construction. With your host Comp and
Key My Car.
Today's film is
Baskin, 2015.
Baskin is a 2015 film directed by Can Everin-All. Sounds like a question. A squad of unsuspecting cops goes through a trapdoor to hell when they stumble upon a black mass in an abandoned building. Written by, Ogul Khan Irin Akay and Can Everin-All and some other people. Stars Mehmet Seralkhlu, Gorkum Kasal, I fucked that first guy's name up, Ergun Kuyuku, and a bunch of other people. This is a Turkish horror film. It's an hour and 37 minutes that came out last year, and trailers usually...
Interesting thing, this is only the 8th Turkish film ever to be released in the U.S., which is sad.
Okay. I thought you were going to say it was the 5th Turkish film ever made. I was like, good lord, they've taken a long time to make these movies. No. If anybody remembers Turkish Superman, you can see that clip on YouTube. And
really?
Looks like they made a big leap. I mean, while I'm talking, maybe you should Google Turkish Superman on YouTube. And anyway...
Okay.
Do while I'm talking to you, and you can play along. So anyway, this is a film that is a horror film, and it's just came out. It's released by IFC Midnight, which is one of those companies that acquires a lot of indie horror films and releases it a lot. I believe they also had released A Girl Walks Alone, Home at Midnight.
No, that was Elijah Wood's company.
Hey, I guess I was wrong. So anyway, I was just trying to kill time. Anyway, so this film is about what, Danny?
This is, it's a little hard to say, but it's about these cops who, they go to investigate this call they get and end up being held captive in some weird cult thing.
Now, here's the thing with this film. I had seen previews for this film a while back, and I was very excited to see it, not only because it was new horror, but it was... It was a foreign horror film.
Very different in the trailer from my memory.
Yeah. And Baskin is Turkish for the word raid, or something suddenly happening. So it's like an attack, like the movie The Raid. And I was just trying to figure out. I was gonna do the whole ice cream joke, but then I was like, I'm sure everybody else has done
that's
that.
what I kept thinking of. Obviously, is Baskin Robbins.
This is the origin story of Baskin. He was that little man with the tiny head. So the film starts out how, Danny?
It's little Arda, which is the main character. It's him as a little kid, listening at the door as he... Basically, it's him remembering a dream that he describes later in the movie.
He's trying to sleep in bed, and he's hearing some moaning going on, which he goes to his parents' door, and he keeps hearing his mother moaning. And he walks to the living room where he sees the TV is on, but it's on static, and... At that same moment, this creature, or this hand, reaches out from his door, which he runs back to his parents' door, and he pleads to his mother to open. And here's the thing, when I first watched it, I was like, what kind of opening is this? This doesn't it does make sense later on in the film why it's even there. It just sort of seems... from what I saw from the trailer, I had no idea what this would be about. I thought it was going to be sort of the raid.
The trailer makes it seem like it's I don't know, a completely different movie.
To me, the trailer
connect this with the trailer.
Yeah, immediately to me, the trailer looked sort of like a long version of the cult film that was in not ABCs of Death, VHS 2. You know, the one with the...
Oh, where they're all going nuts and the Asian
like a cult.
Dude,
I thought it was...
Yeah.
Because I thought the premise was basically a cult film, a cult horror film, which was I was hoping for, but it wasn't necessarily... It is the case, but it's not necessarily the full good case of this film. But I will say this, that the film does have a genuinely creepy tone to it, a very unsettling tone, at least for the first hour of the film. None of the real action doesn't happen until the last half an hour. I would say the first, hour, because the movie's only an hour and 37 minutes, like I said, 90-minute film. That it's setup or a feeling of kind of dread or weirdness throughout the whole first hour of the film, and then the real craziness is... Yeah, the actors are good, and I was watching it going, oh, Danny must be happy that these are all adult men, because Danny has a fetish for watching older men.
It's not only
movies.
Men, just older people. I like older actors.
Because it gives it some sort of legitimacy, you think, or is it just you just like that it's...
Because I don't know.
You're tired of teenagers getting killed in horror films?
No, that's always good. But I mean, if I see a 20-year-old like good-looking guy in a role that's meant for like a 50-year-old man. It doesn't seem legitimate to me.
That's true. But anyway, so it starts out with that bizarre sequence at the beginning with this kid, and I was watching it last night. I was like, ooh, like it was an unsettling sequence in the film, and it goes to Baskin, and then it opens up at this restaurant, and where you see a police van, and I could have sworn I thought the whole opening, like I thought they couldn't afford. I thought they couldn't afford a van, and I really thought those were toys. I thought those were like scale models of stuff. I really did.
I guess they really look like that.
I had to watch it again, and then they're like, okay, so it really is like a real car. So anyway, we see a couple of cops. There's Arda, who's a young guy. Although Arda really doesn't turn into a main character until like 40 minutes into the film. It's sort of a bunch of characters.
We don't know he's the main character until we find out that he was the guy in the beginning.
Yeah, there's Arda, he's a young guy. There's Remzi, who's sort of the older, not the oldest guy. He might be the second. I think he is the oldest guy. Remzi is sort of
he's
Uncle
the boss,
Remzi.
Yeah.
Yeah, the backstory between him and Arda is that his Arda's parents had died in a car wreck, and he's got a lot of problems with fucking cars. This Arda guy, and his parents died in a car wreck. His friend died in a car wreck. A car accident, and his uncle put him in Remzi's care. I don't know why the uncle didn't take care of him, unless the uncle got into a problem with a car too. There's
the uncle died because he says later that the uncle will hunt him in the afterlife.
Okay, right. There's Yavuz, who is a sort of the asshole, funny guy of the group. There's
he really is an asshole.
Apo is this the second older guy who's there, and I guess he's just sort of okay. There's Sabo. He has a different name in the film, or the subtitle version that I saw.
Saifi? I'm not sure if I'm saying
Saifi, right. I believe it's Saifi. Saifi is this guy
he looks a lot like Richard from Lost to me.
I don't remember. Who's Richard from Lost?
He's the one that looks like
Richard, right.
Mascara.
Yes. Guy Liner.
Yeah.
So Saifi is this cop who's also with them, and he looks ill, like he's just sick or something like that. And we do see. I will say, like, I felt unsettled by this whole opening of this film. The whole first hour, I was like, "Ooh, this is a really fucking creep." Because the part where Saifi is looking in the mirror,
yeah,
and you don't see what he's seeing. I'm watching it, and you just see him sort of in the darkness, and his eyes are like completely white. Not like the pupils are white too, but you can see like the whiteness in his eyes really clearly, and he just starts freaking out in the bathroom, and even I was like,
he's got a great scream.
Yeah, he does. He has a great scream. And anyway, so the fellas are in the restaurant, and Yavuz, who I thought was going to be my favorite character, but his dickishness kind of gets higher and higher after this one scene. He starts talking about how this prostitute he picks up and has sex with her, and she finds out she's a man. But he's one of those guys that has to be macho, and if anybody else laughs,
he's like Joe Pesci in Goodfellas.
That's exactly what I was going to say. He pulls a Joe Pesci, but Joe Pesci was at least still joking the whole time.
No, he wasn't. He shot the kid.
No, I'm talking about the one when he says, "You think I'm funny? You think I'm that?" That whole scene.
Yeah, but then he ultimately like shoots that kid.
Did he? Okay, I never watched Goodfellas. So
as far as I remember, I mean, it's been a while, but
no, he's doing no. That's the scene with what's his name with the main guy.
No, because remember, he shoots that kid in the leg to be funny, and then the kid comes and like challenges him like in a cast like a week later, and he like kills him.
Okay, I was thinking I was thinking of the scene between him and the actual main character of that film.
Oh, you're right. Because in this one, the guy headbutts a waiter, so I'm confusing it. But yeah, you're right. He doesn't hurt the guy that he says, "Oh, you think I'm funny?" But like that's like his friend. But
so Yavuz
he does kill a waiter for no reason.
Yavuz is a dick, and also was that the part where he stabbed that guy in the neck with a pen? That was a really fucked up movie. I didn't watch that whole film. I just remember seeing parts of it.
It's a really good movie.
I hear it's a great movie. But you know me, it takes me forever. I just saw Star Wars last year, so you want me to do... So, anyway, so this film has these 5 guys there, and they're all, Remzi is sort of a tender to these guys, where he's sort of, the big man on campus, but he's not an asshole. He's sort of like the wizenly old man, is that the right phrase?
They're all kind of nice people. Even Yavuz, who is an asshole, is kind of nice.
Yeah, so they actually start. Yavuz tries to start a fight with the restaurant owner's son, and Remzi, smartly takes the gun away from Yavuz and is like, "Oh, go ahead, do what you're gonna do." And there leads to a little scuffle, and then the guys hear Saifi scream, so they go to check him out. And here's the thing with my feeling on this film. I think it has a long, I mean, it has a great opening, but I think it just doesn't come together in the end. I think it really it fucks up for some reason. I don't know whether this style of film, I don't know whether it's reaching from sort of Turkish mythology or something. I assume it is.
I don't know.
Or they're trying to, or it's trying to ape American cinema, and they just don't go anywhere with it towards the end. Because definitely, if you hear the soundtrack in the movie, that's fucking 80s synthcore.
I like the soundtrack a lot.
Soundtrack's
actually
great. Even the song that they're listening to in the car. I was watching because they're driving down this highway. They receive a call that there's a problem. I can't even remember what the name of the area that they have to go to.
I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's Insigak or something.
Right, and they have to drive off there, and they just have, for some reason, they have this extended dance sequence in the car. It's not stupid dance, but they're just kind of having fun, and it makes you think about other cultures. Danny is yourself. You've dealt with. I mean, you're in the Jewish culture, so I'm sure there's you've been. Have you ever been to what is it called when the kids turn to men?
A bar mitzvah. Yeah,
bar mitzvahs. And they're fun, right? That's a culture exclusive sort of party.
Yeah, but
thing.
I'm sure you got that too. Puerto Rican or whatever has got to have its own stuff, right?
No, I mean, yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's when you look at other cultures that have their own sort of ways of partying, it's sort of it makes you really do feel like an outsider. It's damn, that'd be cool to be part of that, or be invited to. I would like to go to a Turkish party. You know what I mean? And I've seen Greek parties before, and you see sort of Egyptian parties and stuff like that.
Yeah, I've seen some cool stuff with my job, Greek weddings are throwing money around on the ground and stuff. It's pretty cool.
Do you throw your equipment out of the way and run and get it? I just picture you.
Only
if
they threw pennies would I do that.
I didn't mean it that way, but then eventually, as soon as I started saying the joke, I was he's going to take this as a racist joke. But watching it, I was oh, that's cool. Because, ultimately, to watch this film, it's interesting to see, as an American, to watch a different culture than my own, their take on horror. And just seeing the regular shit that they do, the normal stuff, just partying in the car and just being cool and just, hanging around. Because you can imagine in Abu Dhabi or something when they're really rich and you just see motherfuckers driving and drift racing in the desert and they're rich and they're just throwing money everywhere. And you're wow, that must be that's pure opulence and just having lots of cash. And even though these guys didn't have any cash, you could see that they're having fun just doing what they want, stuff like that. And they're cops, and they could be complete assholes, but you're sort of okay with them.
Yeah, I didn't mind. I mean, they are kind of assholes, but I didn't mind. They seem nice, and they all love each other, which is nice.
Right? Yeah, they're like brothers. They even have a photo that they keep showing of all the guys together, and it's clasped to the top of the car, that's near the sunroof, not the sunroof, whatever, the ceiling of the car. And it's interesting to see them together, and it's weird because the movie sort of promises or makes you understand that these guys are sort of brothers, right? And you're going to see them go through something together, but as soon as they get into this house, they're completely taken away from each other, and they're dealt with pretty quickly. And I was really expecting to see these 5 guys through a night of hell. Do you know what I mean? Go through it instead of just sort of okay, here's the horror part, let's get rid of everybody else and let's deal with Arda and Remzi, and that's it.
Well, it kind of feels like they didn't know exactly what they were going for as far as actual story, although it's all cool and I like the characters, but I don't really think they knew what they were going for exactly. Right. Or maybe I just didn't understand it.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering if it was more of a Turkish mythological sort of thing, because it seems like there's a weird shift in the film, because it feels very dark and dreamlike. Especially with scenes with Arda and Remzi, because Arda, the film is told chronologically, but there are sequences which jump into these weird dreams that Arda is having this conversation with Remzi inside the diner that they're in the beginning. Those are great scenes. And it's really creepy, because the part where Arda is, the first sequence where Arda is talking to Remzi about the dream that he has as a child, which is going back to the opening of the film. It's really unsettling because there's no music going on. It's just the two conversations, and the camera work is fantastic. And I thought that was really great storytelling for cinematic storytelling. Yeah. But once the guys reach their destination in this house or this mansion or whatever the hell it was, it used to be an old police department, right? And it just
did they say that?
Yeah. They said like that it used to be a police department, and then for some reason all the cops left, and then they just left it as abandoned the building. And from
Okay.
right there on, and there's the thing, it's like I would totally write off the last half of this film, but for the fact that they have this guy named Mehmet Karakhlu who plays Baba the father, who
He's
is this
crazy.
guy. I tried to look him up. I think he was sort of a regular. I think he was actually a toll booth operator. I'm not sure because I looked him up
Does
after
he
the
actually
film.
look like that?
Yeah, he is. He does.
Wow.
What did you think? You think it was like
Actually,
CGI? Or...
no, I thought it was maybe like makeup or something. I mean, he's basically
How would you
essentially
describe?
he's like a baby. It's like his face is a 60-year-old baby.
Right. There is that disease. What is that disease called? Oh man, it's a disease
Well,
where
like the
you're
Elephant Man or something.
No, that's completely different. There's a disease where you look way older than you are as a like you could be 6 years old and you look like a 70-year-old
Well,
person.
he doesn't have the Jack disease. This is like
No,
isn't
it's
like
not.
aging.
He doesn't
This
turn
is
into
like
adult. No, he just has skin that is sort of very old. Go talk about the lead up, the dream sequences while I look up that disease.
You're not gonna find the meaning of the disease.
Yeah, I will. Go ahead, because it
All right,
exists.
what do you want me to talk about here?
Talk about the
Let's
Ahmed.
talk about
I mean,
sex,
sorry.
baby.
The relationship between Arda and Ramsey.
Oh yeah, so Ramsey, so I guess watched him, kind of adopted him as like a son, and whatever. So he's telling him about Artist telling Ramsey about his dream, and then falls backwards in the water. That scene was really cool, actually, because apparently that whole shot was like an entire day of shooting just for like that underwater shot
Okay.
kind of thing. And then there was a whole bunch of shit with frogs. Like I wonder what that all meant. There was like
Yeah, that's what I'm
several
thinking it might
things
have
with
to do.
frogs.
So there's this thing called Progeria. Progeria is, I don't know if that guy has it, that Mehmet guy. By the way, Dr. Oz's first name is Mehmet, so that makes me believe now that he's Turkish.
Okay.
Progeria is an extremely rare genetic disorder in which symptoms resembling aspects of aging are manifested at a very early age. Progeria is one of several progeroid syndromes. You can see a lot of these kids on like Maury Povich
Yeah,
shows and
I'm
stuff
looking
like
at
that.
this picture. Yeah,
And I don't know if it's like I don't think it's a fatal disease. I don't know, but I might be sure about. But anyway, this guy Mehmet has. He's like, it's so funny because he looks like a very old man. I don't know how old he is. And the thing is, he'll take his like hood off, and he looks mad jacked. Like he lifts weight and
Yeah.
shit. And I don't know whether that's part of the disease or not. But he's very compelling because I think he like I was saying before, and I looked him up because he was so. First of all, he's very interesting to look at in the film, and he does well with what he had. Like I don't know if he's a good actor because he's Turkish. I mean, I don't. There. When you watch a foreign film, and you sometimes can't understand if a person's a good actor or not because they're speaking a different language. From what I saw, he was a good actor for what he was given. He was kind of being this menacing, slow-talking creep of a
I think
cult leader.
he was pretty good.
I think he was good. And I think when I looked him up, I believe he might have been, because they were showing footage of him in his regular life, and he was a toll worker, and I think somebody might have seen him, and then they put him in music videos, and now Baskin, I believe, is his first film. I could be wrong about that, but he certainly is somebody, he alone is worth watching the film for, because he's basically doing all the talking in the last half of the film. But anyway, the cops get to this abandoned police station because they got a call early. They find this other cop who's there. They see his car out there. Anyway, the way they got there is because their car flipped when they hit somebody on the road. And then they run into this weird family that's eating frogs or whatever the fuck they're doing, and they decide to go off into to this location. They find another cop inside this abandoned police station. He's banging his head against the wall, and they tell him to get, they bring him outside, which automatically they instantly kill off.
If I saw
safety.
that, I would run, wouldn't you?
The thing is, you're a cop, so you're supposed to...
I would still run. I wouldn't care. I'd run anyway.
The worst cop ever. Anyway, so this splits up the four guys, and this is where I kind of thought, like, oh, this sucks. Like, I thought it was going to be... I mean, this is my expectations, so I shouldn't have my expectations going into a film like this, but with the trailer, you're thinking, oh, it's cops versus insane cult members, you know what I mean?
Right.
This is when I thought, watching it, because the film has a great artistic design to it, but I thought they went way too much with the cult. I don't know if this makes any sense, but I think they went way too
Long
artsy with the cult. I think like those cult people look like they were from a Guillermo del Toro film. Do you know what I mean? Like they were a little bit too well dressed and too fashiony. I don't know if that makes any sense, but they looked too super cartoonish for this movie. From what
I know exactly what you're saying. I actually thought of the three witches, the three sisters from like a Shakespeare play. I forget which one, but they're like
I think that was it Hamlet or was that Macbeth?
I don't know, but they're basically like these
Macbeth.
like little in between evil witches that like talk about the story.
That's Macbeth.
And it reminded me of
yeah.
that.
Yeah, and the thing is, like, because I was watching it, and the one that really threw me off, because there's Baba, who he's great, like, he's awesome, because to me, he's about as equal to the crazy guy in Shaitan, you know what I mean, like, a stick-out sort of villain, but he's still not given enough, he's given enough where you're like, oh, okay, but it almost feels like, I'm watching the time, and I'm like, there's only, like, 20 minutes left to this film, like, what are they going to do with this guy? And he's trying to be bad, but the one that was underneath him, like, remember that second guy who looks like a fucking space pirate, who has like half his face covered up, and he's doing like weird Marilyn Manson moves?
Right.
Like, I was like, he looks way too cartoony. It was like, this guy looks like he's voguing or something. Like, I was like, he's a little bit too fucking cartoonish for this right now. And this is a movie about, you know, people seeing ghosts in the mirror and shit like that. So my main problem is with the way that the cult was depicted. They just seemed way too fucking, like, even for this film, was a little bit too much for this movie. Because I was like, now they're taking me out of the movie.
Up until that point, it had a kind of creepy realism to it. And then
right. Like it was unsettling and dreamlike, but when you see these people, they look like Cirque du Soleil. Like, you know what I mean? They look like they're a fucking dance troupe or something that got lost in this building. And that's what threw me off. And plus, all the characters that you were getting to know in the beginning half of this film with their conversations and everything, you're supposed to care about these characters, you know, to see them go through something, and then, but they're taken out so quickly. They're killed so quickly that you're like, okay, what is this supposed to be? Then all of a sudden, Arda becomes the main man. Like, this is a joke I always use mostly in all of our episodes. He becomes the Neo of getting his ass kicked.
Yeah, you know, I legitimately did think of the Matrix though. And that guy was like the architect dude.
Yeah, right.
With the keyhole in his head and everything.
Because Arda all of a sudden becomes super important just because we saw him have a dream in the beginning, and I'm like, what is so important about him? And that part that really I was like, I kind of wrote off the film. Not completely, because the first hour is fantastic to me. Is the part where he's having a dream about Ramsey, and Ramsey's like, use the key, and you know, a key appears out of Ramsey's throat, which is slit, and then he headbutts the Baba, and then the key is stuck in his head, and I'm like, what? Like, what the fuck is going on here? Like,
well, he kept saying, open your mind, and that guy has a key.
But what does that mean? Like, what does that have to do with...
It's symbolic.
I know, but then the guy actually had a fucking key in his forehead. Like, when he killed him, he had an actual key in his head.
No, I know, like, but I mean, they were taking the symbolism...
Literal translation.
Yeah.
Because I was watching and I was like, well, why did that key appear in his head? Like, it's not like... I mean, the film does have supernatural... I mean, it... Maybe doesn't have supernatural elements to it. It was more dreamlike.
Maybe the cult is supernatural. I mean, because then the ending is totally supernatural.
Right. I mean, I saw that ending as soon as he ran out the building. I was like, "That's gonna happen," and that's exactly what happened when he gets hit by. I was like, "Oh no, they really did do that." Because I was like, once we keep following him running out the building, I was like, he's gonna run into the road, and I don't know why I thought that. Because I thought, I thought
he was going to get hit by a car, but I didn't think he was going to get hit by himself.
I mean, because they keep saying car accidents throughout the whole movie, and I didn't even put two and two, but for me, for some reason, I thought, I bet you the writers think they're going to be so smart and have him get hit by himself with his own crew. And they actually did it, and I was like, oh, no. I was like, no way. They really did it. And I was like, oh, brother. You can tell they were like, the guys are like in a Turkish bath writing this. And, you know,
I actually didn't mind that. I thought it was kind of cool.
It's cool, but it's the fact that I was like, they're going to do... I'm thinking from the fact that, they're going to think they're so, like, clever that he gets hit by the car that they're in, which is an explanation of absolutely nothing. Not that you really need complete lineal sort of anything making sense in this film, but if you're setting up sort of a linear storyline in the beginning and then all of a sudden it starts going batshit, that made sense for, like, Shaitan and stuff. Because the more and more you got into that, this is a film that needed another half an hour to it. You know what I mean? Because
or they needed to just like explain it a little bit better, maybe.
Yeah, what was the point of the cult? Like, what were they doing? They were obviously trying to birth a child. Like, I'll give credit to Yavuz, who still got a hard on after his eyes were cut out of his head. to
Yeah,
have
I
sex
wouldn't
with
be
the
able to
lady.
get a hard on in that situation.
Although I don't think he shot a load, so that's probably why they got mad at him. What
And
did
then
he
he
do?
died,
He
and a
just
spider
dropped dead,
came out
right?
of his mouth.
Did oh Jesus! But yeah, I mean, this is a film that I think, and I know we spoiled the shit out of the movie. I would say
Well, they
watch it just for seeing something different, because I'm sure people are gonna see some other shitty horror film that just came on.
Well,
So just
somebody
watch
I
this.
was reading on Wiki, and they compared it to Lucio Fulci, and I think that's kind of cool because it did remind me of City of the Living Dead a couple times, like throughout. So it was cool that somebody else like thought that.
I can see what they're saying. Like on IMDb, people are saying style and no content, but some genuinely terrifying characters. I'll give them that. That was by Omen Dada. Wrong View writes, Baskin is the greatest horror film of the past decade. I don't believe that.
I don't know about that, but
I don't know what that. It must have been a Turkish guy that wrote that. You know what's funny? You can tell the greatest awesome scene that I wish they had. You know the part where he's bashing in Baba's head, with what was it, the little stool that he stands on to be as tall as people, like
right.
that. They slowed it down and then they started putting this synthcore music, and it's really cool. But you can tell this seems like this is a film made for an American audience, like certainly made for an American audience, because there's a lot of visuals in it. And I'm not, I mean, there's plenty of
who
Korean
knows? I
films.
mean, this is only like what did I say, the 8th film from Turkey that's been released here. So who knows? Maybe they make films like this regularly there.
Yeah, there's plenty of theaters. I mean, theories on IMDb. There's a thread called "The Ending" by Crazy Cody 1, and there's a guy named Super Kino who says he's stuck. This is what he's saying about Arda. He says he's stuck in sort of a time loop. I think it's really hard to understand and found a real meaning to the plot. But anyway, I'll share my interpretation. So this is a little thing that he says. The young cop and the old one, Ramsey, are similar, the main protagonists of the story. All the crazy events are related to the story that the young cop tells Ramsey in the dreamy sequences at the restaurant. So basically what he's saying, that it's all about the same night his friend died in a car accident. The scene in the movie represents the manifestation of the friend to the young cop, stuff like that. So they're thinking that all these events are mostly between Ramsey and Arda, because I mean, if the film focus, this is what this guy's opinion is. It might not be the real case, but the fact that the film focuses on Ramsey and Arda midway through the film and keeps going back to this conversation between them two is obviously the director's reasoning to have that come up. About visions and people visiting you after you're dead and stuff like that. The key to salvation. In his final moments before he dies, he literally gave the key to salvation to the young cop. At the same time, it's a damnation because killing the cult leader leads to a sort of infernal time loop where the starting point is the van crash. I don't know what that. It might not be. It's an interesting thread. But yeah, I think that the film isn't coherent enough within the last half an hour. It was very coherent for the first hour, and then the last half an hour they try to make it some sort of batshit, let's drive the audience insane out of fear, but it doesn't work for me, at least. I think the guy who plays Baba is fantastic. He's the only thing worth watching in the last half hour of the film.
I like all the different elements, but yeah, the story is a little weak. But
yeah, the story falls apart in the last half. Everything else about
the movie is great.
Yeah, I think it's a great looking film. It's directed pretty well. I think it's just that the story falls apart, and you want it to work, but it just doesn't. For me, at least. So with that, I would give this a 6. 6.5 out of 10. Having a tall Marilyn Manson-esque man thrust your hips into the buttocks of a woman who's willing to take your seed.
Okay.
Hey, that happened.
I'm gonna give this a 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10. Cop headbutting somebody for laughing as they tell a story about having sex with a woman who turned out to be a man.
And with that, Danny, what's the final... Hey, wait, that's pretty liberal. You know what I mean? I didn't know... See, I was not aware of other countries and what their states are, or about having sex with people, trans people.
I think you
and different...
just can't judge their governments, because I think generally most people don't care about these topics as much as the media leads us to believe.
Good for them. With that, Danny, what's the final word?
Shiny metal keys.
protein construction.